I thank you very much for tuning in to That Will Never Work podcast. If your ads aren't converting, the problem might not be your targeting, it might be your offer. So today I have Dave Valentine who's going to break down how to build offers that win in any market. We'll talk about it right after this.
Educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work, an award-winning podcast where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
All right. So we're going to get all the way into this. As you well know, you'll be able to find all of Dave's information in the show notes, his bio, his social media, LinkedIn, all that type of stuff. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But Dave, if someone tells you that their ads aren't working, how do you help them look beyond the copy and start fixing the offer? If
Oh
they even
man.
recognize that's their problem.
Yeah, it's interesting. Offers, no matter where you're at, whether it's a restaurant, a concert venue, it's an e-commerce shop, you're doing B2B lead gen, it doesn't matter. The offer is the tip of the spear. And a lot of times what people think is they need to work on the platform, they need to work on the creative, they need to work on how much they're spending, all those things can and do play a role. But the thing that I look at first is that offer. And the reason why I bring that up, I've grown, this is my 11th business now that I'm working in. I've sold 9 of the previous ones. And, what we've seen, and it's funny because my COO is actually in town. We've been working together through the weekend and this
Nice.
week. And she and I have worked at other companies before. And one of the things that we were talking about with our internal company right now that we're operating was that at a previous B2B firm, we went from 12 clients to 200 clients over the course of 12 months just because we had a great offer that made it frictionless for people to try us out before they actually put any money forward. And so what that did was it made us a top 0.1% agency in that space in the world. And we did that over the course of 12 months because we were offer driven. So when I think about an offer, I often think about what are the reasons why people would say no? Why would they say, no, I'm not even going to talk to them? Why? No, I'm not even going to click on the link. No, I just don't believe that that's going to work. Whatever that is, whatever those reasons are, that's really the friction. And so what I do is I make it so that those things are removed. Now it's kind of silly if they don't click on the link and buy, right? Now it's kind of silly if they don't book a meeting. And so that's really my goal and my aim every time that I'm working with clients is I'm like, look, let's create offers that are so compelling that people just go, how can you do that and stay in business? How are you even functioning at that level? And there's ways that you can go about it that make sense. So it's really starting to look at what your customer journey is like, understanding where the friction points are in the sale process, and then eliminating those.
So I have an offer. I have a product or a service that I just love. I've dreamt about this all my childhood or whatever it might be. So I think it's just something that is great. So I think that once you build it, mentality, they'll come. So how do I start to pivot from that, mindset? Because this is what I have a passion for. So I just think that because it sounds great, that's the best offer I can, because I don't understand any other friction. I love it. You should love it too. So how do we start to pivot from that mindset?
Yeah, so I think that it depends. Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, by the way, and so many people come to me with that same idea. I mean, I had a sales conversation with an owner founder a few weeks ago, and they were like, man, we made this awesome product. It's not like all these other knockoffs. We put a lot of time, energy, and resources into it. We made it with this carbon fiber, and it's better than the other stuff that's on the market that's made in other countries, and it's just plastic, And I was like, that's cool. And they're like, we just don't know why it won't sell. And one of the things that I talked about with them, Maurice, is you have to really think about what is it that your customer wants, not what you think is cool. Right? And so for me, I'll give you real world examples, because I think that those are the most impactful, at least in my experience. So the one that I was talking about for a previous agency, what we did was we were a lead gen agency. So we worked with B2B companies booking B2B meetings. Our lowest package was $3,900 a month. Our biggest package that we ever sold was $100,000 a month, right? But we had 200 clients paying us $3,900 or more every month in 12 months. It's crazy fast. The thing that we figured out was we knew that we were good at what we did. But what was scary for people was they just went, hey, I'm a smart person. I'm a business owner. I'm a CEO. I'm a chief marketing officer. I'm a chief revenue officer. I'm smart. I can't figure out our lead gen. Why would I believe that you could get me 8 to 12 meetings booked on my calendar every month? I'm not going to pay you $3,900 a month for that. There's no way, because I can't do that. And I'm trying to spend way less than that, or maybe I'm spending more even. So what we decided in that circumstance was, what is something that is really going to resonate with them? So one part was the offer. So our offer was really simple. Hey, I'll book you 3 meetings for free, no strings attached. So what that did was it totally diffused their doubts. They're like, well, hang on, time out. What do you mean free? And so then we'd be going back and forth, and we're like, we mean free, like free. And so they were like, oh, I'm going to get a benefit just by giving you some of my time. And if y'all really do what you say that you can do, I'm going to sign in the dotted line, because I need leads. It's a big pain point, right? It's not I'd like to have. Every business has to have it. Another one that we did that I thought was really fun, Maurice, that's in a totally different space, and I'm doing this on purpose. This one worked exceptionally well also, okay? We had this company that was based in Washington, D.C. They were selling cake pops that were infused with THC. Okay. So they're in Washington, D.C., and they're like, we want to be out in California. And I was like, great, guys. We'd love to help you. Well, you would think that there are a large number of dispensaries in California. There are not. There are only a little over 400. So what they did to try and get meetings before was they were saying, we're going to give you free samples. And I asked them to step back. And I said, now, hang on. We need to think about this. We are trying to reach owners of these dispensaries. We're trying to reach product managers, general managers, right? And they go, yeah. And I said, they don't care about free samples. I was like, all the frontline staff, they love those after the account is signed. But you need to do something that those other 3 people, what do they care about? And they were very honest. They said, we don't know. Okay. And so I said, well, I'll tell you exactly what they care about. Product manager wants to move product. They want to have a good margin on it. They want to be able to move it. The general manager wants foot traffic, because the more foot traffic that they get to the store, the more sales that they do, the bigger their bonus is at the end of the year. The owner cares about foot traffic, profitability, product shelf life. They care about a multitude of other things. So as we thought through it, they said, well, we want to keep trying our own thing. We want to keep trying the free samples. And I said, that's fine. Whenever you don't book any meetings with us, because they decided to pay us up front, whenever you don't book any meetings with us and you're like, this isn't working, you're going to come back to me and we're going to do a real offer. So we tried their offer for 2 months. They booked 3 meetings in 2 months, which was not good in comparison to our other clients. And they finally said, okay, Dave, what offer should we do? So I came up with 2. We ran them both side by side. One offer was they could do a co-branded billboard, because you can't do digital advertising for THC, but you can do traditional out of home for THC. The other thing, the second thing was What if we sent a chef to a store location and they decorated cake pops that didn't have THC? They were just normal cake pops without the THC in them. They could sell them there too, like through the store. And it's an event because, one of the things that's weird about dispensaries, at least in my experience, they're one of two ways. They're either kind of in a back alley and you feel like, oh man, this is a little bit shady,
Right.
or they are like this Swedish sanitarium that's all white and clean lines, and it feels like some mix of an Apple store and a hospital, and this is weird, And so it's different than going to a brewery or a winery where there's lots of life and you can bring your kids. It's a different experience. So we started running these two offers. In the first month, with those two offers running, they booked 16 meetings. In the second month, they booked 25. In month 3, they booked 34 meetings. In month 4, they booked 36. There's only 400 dispensaries in the entire state. They said, hey, Dave, this is so good. It's going better than our wildest dreams. We need to pump the brakes because we can't make enough product.
Right.
I call those champagne problems, right? Those are the ones you want to have. So, that's another kind of moment there where we saw that work. I'll give you one last one, Maurice, because I think this is relevant to the e-commerce brands. In my first agency that I owned, we were a Facebook and Instagram ad agency, and we had huge clients like Fortune 500 brands. Target was one of our clients for that agency. And one of the things that we found is we ran metadata, and we would run these polls on all these different sites for clients. We kept getting the same information back consistently, which was we would have a little pop-up that came up at the bottom of the screen when somebody would go to close out their window. And the survey would say, 3 questions, then it'd have another. So like, did you not make a purchase because you thought the product was too expensive? Did you not make a purchase because you didn't trust the, efficacy of the product? Did you not do something else? And then the last one was other. And we shifted those questions around just to see what we would get, right? So the pre-populated questions would be different. What we found across the board was 48% of the time, and this was true within about a 4% window, for every client that we had, people didn't purchase because they had to pay for shipping. And so we went back to clients and just said, hey, listen, what if you just start to offer free shipping for everything over more than one item of your average one item? If they bought a second one, they would automatically get free shipping. So we're going to increase our average order value. They're going to get free shipping. So they feel like they're winning. We feel like we're winning because we're taking our average order value from 1.2 products to 1.8 products, maybe even higher. And when we had clients that started to offer free shipping, all of a sudden, on the low side, their sales would increase by 12%. On the highest side, we had an increase of 46%.
Wow.
Just because they changed the free shipping. So it's always about looking at what is your customer looking for? What's their pain point? How can we help them solve
it? And as I'm listening to you, first of all, Dave, thank you for all those examples. I mean, you said a mouthful on every single one. Like, if you're listening and you're not paying attention, and you're not hearing certain things, let me break some of this part down to you. Because for those of us that are listening to this audience, they are getting into entrepreneurship, right? And so, unfortunately, like you're referring to, and I say unfortunately because sometimes we don't think this way, you're talking B2B, business to business mentality. A lot of times when we're looking at these situations, we're looking at B2C. We're only looking at the consumer. We're not looking at the bigger, broader picture. We're not looking at the mass market appeal across the board, whatever that might be, right? So how do we start to shift that mentality? Because that's something else that kind of holds us back in our offer and understanding how do we move forward.
Yeah, so when we think about those individual people instead of businesses, when we're thinking about what are they looking for, I love getting feedback, right? So let's use it for instance of a B2C situation. if I go into a restaurant, right, that's a B2C situation. By the way, there are offers to get people into restaurants. I've created some. I'll talk about those here in a second because I think it's fun. One of the things that I'm always thinking about is, so there are some good numbers out there for the following. It is really challenging to get someone to try out a new restaurant. It's surprisingly hard. But the thing that's really interesting is that once you get them in, it's really easy to mess up that situation so that they never come back again. So there's an interesting statistic here that if you don't provide an A experience when they come in, which means food comes out quickly, it's well done, it's like not suspect in any way, they feel like they got the appropriate amount of attention, their check was right, there's a 90% chance, if you get that right, that they will come back the next time. Okay? But if you don't get it right, if you hit that 10%, what will happen is it guarantees that they won't come back. And so, because they're only going to give you one try. That's what most people do, right? So the idea to get people in is like, okay, how do we get them in? And then how do we make that experience great? So here's what we did with the brew pub. So selling beer, selling pizza. They're new in an area in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. They're kind of on this far out suburb, but they're there. And they're like, hey, we're having a hard time getting people in. We don't know how to do this. We're struggling. So 2 moves that we did that made it really work. Move number 1, we said, hey, listen, we're going to put every door direct mail in these sections that are right around the brew pub. And in Texas, you can't do discounts on alcohol, but you can do discounts on food. So he said, any 2 pizzas, $25. Normally, you could get a Supreme pizza and it would be like $19. So any 2 pizzas, $25. When you come in, we'll also give 2 free soft drinks when you come in. And so what we're trying to do is get those people in that way. It got people to try them out in a meaningful fashion because we gave them a deal that was as good as something you get at Domino's or Papa John's that was all around them, but they were going to try an artisanal pizza. The second thing that we did that really worked well a little bit later on, a couple years after that, was we created something called the Thirsty Muggers Club. And the idea was you could go in and they only had a finite number of this sort of membership. So you would pay $100. And with that $100, it got you this really cool mug that we helped design for them. Nice. And it was really unique. It was almost like they're stone made. And they have the Thirsty Muggers logo on them, and it looks cool, and they sit up on the shelf. And so then what they would get is they would get like a little thing that went on their keychain. It was like a little token. And they could go in, they'd set it down. The bartender usually knew who they were. And then they would be able to get $1 off every beer because it was a membership. It kind of got around some laws in Texas, which was fun. And then we were also able to give them a 20% discount on all merchandise through the whole year. And on top of that, they got early and VIP access to any event tickets that were going on. And they got a 10% discount off of those. So they spent $100. Here's what was cool about this. They spent $100 just to be a member. There were only 100 seats available. Okay? Exclusivity. So people felt like, hey, if you're in the Thirsty Muggers Club, we're like in, you know?
Right.
Every year they had that renewal go up. And if you didn't renew within 7 days, they would open up your seat to anybody that wanted it. And the list, Maurice, they had a waiting list, 893 people deep the last time that we checked. And so like for them, we're having conversations. Do we expand this? How much? And I was like, I think we expand it by like 20 people to make it feel like, oh my gosh. But what it's done is that those people have become raving fans. So
Mm-hmm.
not only are
Mm-hmm.
they showing up and spending, I think that we figured out that the average person that's in that club, they spend 8.5 times more than they did in the previous year once we started the
Wow.
club, just because they felt like they were
Wow.
committed, they were in.
Right.
But the other thing that happened too was they would bring people with them to some of the private events, because we
Mm-hmm.
always have a +1, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then there were nights that we would do twice a year. They could come meet with the head brewer, with the owner of the brewery. They'd have a private dinner that was set up just for
Mm.
them, and they'd have a private beer tasting. Well, then they'd bring
Nice.
friends in, they'd get to try it all, and then that kind of compounded. So when we think about the consumer, when we think
Right.
about getting that individual instead of the business, it's thinking about, hey, what's an offer that's going to make someone feel like they're unique, special,
Mm-hmm.
because we all want to be unique and special. And there are
Mm-hmm.
ways that you can go about it that really drives commerce.
So before we got on, and I said, hey, Dave, we're just gonna have a conversation, and if it goes anywhere, it goes anywhere. So just follow me for a second. So I'm listening to what you're talking about and being part of that community, and I'm just piggybacking off of your example just a few moments ago. For those of us, I'm a Gen Xer, born 1976. There was a TV show I grew up on called Cheers, right? Everybody knows your name mentality, right? And so that type of environment that we want to make sure that we create, no matter if we are doing B2C or B2B, we want to make sure everybody feels included and they are important. And I think that's something that what you're talking about and what you're expressing to all of us today, to ensure that everyone feels important no matter what level you're on. And that's something that we don't understand. Because a lot of times we say, hey, B2C is different from B2B, different mentality and mindset. No, just be yourself. Just be a great communicator. That's all.
Yeah, that's really it, right? And I think that so often the best ways that I've found, now, look, I've been in marketing and advertising for over 20 years now, which is why I have increasingly more gray in my beard. But I think it's one of those things where I always think, for me, I always go, what would be cool and interesting if I were the people in the community that I'm serving? What
Mm-hmm.
what a, what would make me say, I want to go hang out at that coffee shop. I want to go be a
Right.
part of that bar. I want to go be at that restaurant on a regular basis. What are the things, the little details that whenever I step into a space, I go, whoa, this is cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's really analyze. If we do self-reflection well, then I think that we end up finding some of the answers that we're looking for.
Yeah, and I think that part of doing the research, making sure that you understand who you're serving. You can't just guess. You can't just assume.
Right.
You have to find out. You have to do some type of market research, right? So and I think that's a key part that we miss, is that feedback loop, because a lot of times we don't want to hear the feedback. We're a little too proudful in some cases, right? Because we don't want to hear the negative stuff, but we don't understand we're still growing in that space. So whether it's positive or negative, it's all the same information to me anyway.
Yeah, I think anytime that we phrase things as positive or negative, it creates a false dichotomy. Feedback is feedback. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like we love to hear the positive because we've created in our mind that's helpful. That
Hmm.
feels good. I'm working hard. Man, I know that you know this, Maurice. I know that I've felt this a lot. One of the reasons why I love your podcast is that you're creating a space for entrepreneurs and business owners to feel less alone.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that we need often, because it is a lonely endeavor that we have taken upon ourselves. It's one
Yes.
thing to say, I want the positive feedback. That makes me feel good. I've said for a long time now, if you want really good therapy, be an entrepreneur. Like, it's going to force you, it's going to hold up a mirror to you and say, here's what's wrong. Here's
Right.
what you got to fix. Because you can't be a successful business owner and have addiction problems long term. You can
Hmm.
have them at the beginning, but if you want to get to where you want to go, you got to work through that. You can't
Right.
have poor relationship skills and be in business long term. Why? Because if you can't speak to an employee effectively and communicate
Right.
clearly, it's going to be an issue. And if you're having troubles at home with your relationship, let me just tell you, that's going to
Yeah.
carry over as well. So it's tough, but man, I think about every time I've had dynamic growth in my personal life, it's when
Mm-hmm.
I listen to all the feedback, I weight it
Mm-hmm.
as not negative or positive, but as feedback. Give it to me.
Right.
And most often, it's the feedback that's the hardest to hear that leads to our biggest results.
Let's just blow up. That's all you want to do,
Yep.
no matter what the situation is, right? If you want your product out there, hey, you know what? I need to get those cake pops from DC to California. So I need to hear what somebody has to say, maybe along the way. Let's stop in Tennessee, see maybe what Tennessee people got to say, or Colorado. You get what I mean?
Yep.
So sometimes, so that way you understand, because each culture likes something different, right? Every space likes something different. So how do you expand on your flavors? How do you expand on maybe colors? Whatever it might be, that might be more fun and energetic, and you might be able to get a broader range. I understand sometimes you want to focus in on one or two things, but also sometimes when you're ready to do that special, right? Hey, for a limited time offer, we're going to do this, right? So it's those type of things that helps you to grow and expand along the way. So, but I thank you very much for coming on and sharing all that, Dave.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Yeah, I think that these kinds of things, as you and I both know, they're the things that we have to talk about to get where we want to go and to be
Mm-hmm.
successful in our business endeavors. So,
Right. And so Dave, for those individuals who might be struggling with their copy or their ideas, thinking outside the box, maybe even because I'm holding on too tightly to my passion,
mhm.
how can they reach out to you and talk to you and find out more information?
Great. Yeah, great question. Yeah, you can find me on social media at RealDVal on Twitter, LinkedIn, or Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And you can also find me on LinkedIn. Dave Valentine is what you can search. You can also find me. We have a podcast network where we release 3 episodes a week. It's called Vox and Coin, and we talk to business owners, entrepreneurs, marketing executives at large corporations. We just had Kettle and Fire on recently, and Mars Candy, and so you kind of get some insights there. And yeah, I'd love to connect with anyone wherever they are most comfortable finding me.
Cool. So of course, y'all, all the information will be in the show notes. And if you're walking, running, jogging, swimming, whatever it might be, his information will be there. But Dave, I got to ask you one last question before I let you go. I ask this question of all my guests. My would you rather question. And because you are out of the box thinker, so I would encourage you to think even further out the box. Would
Okay.
you would you rather choose 3 doors or a fork in the road? No parameters. There's no right or wrong answer. Would you rather choose 3 doors or a fork in the road?
3 doors.
Okay, and why 3 doors?
Fork in the road gives you a 50-50 shot right out of the gate. It's a binary. And I think that binaries get us in trouble. Most notably, we can see that in our own political system at the moment. I think that having multiple options allows us to be more creative and dynamic and thoughtful in how we address a situation and move forward. And I always think it's easy for us as business owners, as people, to think binary. We even have a language that's binary, right?
Yes.
But I think it's too absolute, and giving us that third option is a meaningful option.
That's cool. Let's have a little bit more fun. I'm gonna ask you one last question because I asked this on the
Let's
show with my
go.
wife and I, right? Would you, oh, I'm sorry, who would you choose to sing a duet with? Dead or alive?
Ooh, dead or alive. Ooh, sing a duet.
Hmm.
Man, a guy that as a kid I just idolized the heck out of. And I'm so sad that he passed. And he's just this amazing dynamic character. Robin Williams, man. Like,
Ah,
I mean, I think
yeah.
about him doing the genie and Aladdin and stuff, man. I mean, he was just incredible. Like he was in everything that he's done. He's
Oh,
just
he
been
was.
incredible. And so I think that would be fun. What about you, Maurice? Who would you pick?
So for myself, it's been hard because every time my wife and I ask this question, it changes every week to week because of who I might be listening to. But if I had to say one person, um, it would either be my wife and I. We talk about it. Michael Jackson. I like Michael Jackson.
How could you
He would be
not?
one.
Yeah, yeah,
Because again, I was born in the 70s, so that's what we grew up on, right? Jackson 5-ish, leading
yep,
into Off the Wall, and all that type of stuff. And he was so big at that time. Um, and then the other one, someone like an Erica Badu or Shania Twain. Like it's so many other people, like, because I just like all types of music. Herbie Hancock. It'd be like it's a laundry list.
yeah. I love that.
There's a laundry list. I don't have one particular person. Every day is somebody else, and like I tell my wife all the time, I wake up with a new song in my head. So yeah, so that's where I am with that.
I love it. Love
Yeah.
it.
So, but and I ask you these questions because as again entrepreneurs, you got to have fun. You got to find some icebreakers and all those type
Hmm.
of things. And sometimes you want to leave off with something memorable, right? Hey, you know what, Dave? You said you like to sing with this person. I listen to you on That Will Never Work podcast. Hey, Dave, what about let's sing together, right? Or talk
Yep.
about all the Robin Williams movies and all, whatever it might be. So yeah, I like
Sweet.
this.
I love it. Yeah, I love it, man. I
Cool.
love it.
Cool. So, but I thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me on, Maurice. I'd love to have you on Vox
Of
and Coin
course.
sometime in the future, man. It'd be great to have you on, brother. And we've got some fun topics we can dive into. I think you'd enjoy it.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. So of course, y'all look out for me on that platform, and of course, like I said, that information will be on the show notes. And Dave, I thank you very much for coming on the show, and I thank y'all for listening to to That Will Never Work podcast. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm getting confused. Too many going on. That Will Never Work podcast, and I'll talk to y'all a little bit later.
Thanks for listening. Follow Maurice Chism on social media to stay connected and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work. Or will it?